That's what they're saying anyway. That's what they're saying happened. Can I prove that that's what happened? No. Can anybody prove that somebody didn't go over there and light a match and set it on fire? No, unless you can get drone footage. But oh wait, they don't want you flying drones anywhere in there. And the fact that, again, Hawaiian Electric went through and moved some parts out before anybody could get in to kind of look things over, kind of makes them look a little suspicious. Just going to put that out there. It says here, that's the biggest problem, Fried said on Monday, which is today. Side note, boys and girls, Squirrel Tribe. They can dance around this all they want, but there's no explanation for that. Videos and images analyzed by AP confirmed that the wires that started the morning fire were along miles of line that the utility left naked to the weather and often thick foliage, despite a recent push by utilities and other wildfire and hurricane-prone areas to cover up their lines or bury them. Okay. Compounding the problem is that many of the utilities' 60,000, mostly wooden power poles, which we talked about in a previous video, wooden power poles, yet a lot of them are still standing. They did not burn up. How is that? Anyway, they says they were leaning and near the end of their projected lifespan. They were nowhere close to meeting a 2002 national standard that key components of Hawaii's electrical grid be able to withstand 105 mile per hour winds. Well, here's the thing. They didn't get up to 105 miles per hour. In upcountry, they got up to 80, according to what I looked up. But in Lahaina, the highest they got was 65 miles an hour. So technically, they may not be up to the 2002 national standard, but they were still within the wind range standards. You know what I mean? So it says here, Hurricane Dora passed roughly 500 miles south of Hawaii, which we've already talked about. The max space of wind was 390 miles from the center of the hurricane. So there's still, no, 310 miles, so there was still 190 miles of open air to go before those winds could reach Lahaina. So I understand there was wind, and I understand that it was windy, but I'm still not quite convinced that it was from actual Hurricane Dora. It says here, August 8th, Lahaina resident Shane True heard a utility pole snap next to Lahaina Luna Road. He saw a downed power line ignite in the grass and called 911 at 6:37 a.m. to report the fire. Small brush fires aren't unusual for Lahaina, and a drought in the region had left plants, including invasive grasses, dangerously dry. The Maui County Fire Department declared the fire contained 100% by 9:55 a.m. Firefighters then left to attend other calls, because there were other fires in other parts of Maui, upcountry, and Kula, I believe, is the third one. Now, Hawaiian Electric said its own crews that went to the scene that afternoon to make repairs and did not see fire, smoke, or embers. The power to the area was off. Shortly before 3 p.m., those crews saw a small fire in a nearby field and called 911, the utility said. Residents said the embers from the morning fire had reignited, and the fire raced toward downtown Lahaina. It was on a path towards downtown, where all the businesses were and everything. If you destroy downtown, there goes the livelihood of a small city. It says here, where am I? True's neighbor Robert Arcanado recorded video of it spreading at 3:06 p.m. as large plumes of smoke rise near Lahaina Luna Road and are carried downtown by the wind. Hawaiian Electric is for-profit, investor-owned, publicly traded utility that serves 95% of Hawaii's electric customers. We talked about this already. The other 5% is from the KIUC, something cooperation. I cannot remember all the words, and I don't have it pulled up here. CEO Sheely Kimura said there are important lessons to be learned from this tragedy and resolved to figure out what we need to do to keep our communities safe as climate issues rapidly intensify here and around the globe. Here's the other issue. It's not that you have climate issues, it's that you have a land development company running your water in Lahaina, and they diverted it to all of their subdivisions and everything else instead of to the people where it needed to go. So those developments are still standing, and the people who got, none of the water, they've lost all their shit. That's the issue you need to talk about. Yes, it's dry out. Yes, it's hot out. Yes, there's a little bit less, moisture in the air right now, but you have water. You have water. It's being used in a for-profit way as opposed to a for the people way. So the utility faces a spate of new lawsuits that seek to hold it responsible. Wailuku attorney Paul Storita, lead counsel on 3 lawsuits by Singleton Schreiber, called it a preventable tragedy of epic proportions. I do agree. I do believe it is a preventable tragedy of epic proportions, but I don't believe it's on the fire department. And I don't 100% think that it's Hawaiian Electric's fault. Yes, if in fact it was a downed power line that started the fire, they are responsible for it. But the fact of the matter is that Lahaina did not have the water necessary to even combat a small fire, let alone a large one, yet all of the condos around there have plenty of water for their pools, for their fountains, for their whatever else is. And the subdivisions have plenty for, their sprinklers in the front yards of their homes. I have issues with that personally. Now, in case nobody is aware of this, this is something everybody needs to be paying attention to. I know it's kind of bright out here. Hopefully y'all can see that. Oh, there it goes. Hopefully y'all can see that. This is the National Interagency Fire Center. It is literally nifc.gov, okay? And you need to be checking this because it tells you exactly what is going on with wildfires, because I wanted to know exactly what has happened. And it says right now, national preparedness is at a level 4 out of 1 to 5. 5 being, the whole place is going to burn down and what are you going to do about it? This is at a level 4. And that was as of August 17th. Today is the 28th. And like I said, currently 80 large wildfires have burned 657,822 acres in 14 states. Now, there is a massive one going on right now in Louisiana that I did want to mention to you guys. So I went down here and I pulled it up. And you guys can see, in theory, again, I know the lighting out here is kind of shoddy, but inside wasn't an option today. So here you go. You guys can see this. So it shows me here, this is Louisiana only, okay? I want to tell you. There's a fire in Black Lagoon, which is about 16 miles northeast of Nolens. I don't know if you're supposed to say New Orleans, like pronounce every single letter, or if it's Nolens. I like Nolens better. I don't know how to say it, but I like it because you gotta go, nah. Anyway, so this one that's in Black Lagoon says that it is 448 acres and it's 90% contained. Then you have one on Highway 13 that is 14 miles northwest of Oakdale, 6,000 acres, 50% contained. Then you have one in Ida, 3,900 acres, 40% contained. That's 12 miles southeast of Leesville, Louisiana. But this one here is the big one. Tiger Island, 33,000 acres, only 50% contained. That is huge. So I tried to pull it up, and it's not really easy to see. This is kind of where it's at. A little difficult there, but I mean 33,000 acres and only 50% contained. That's a lot of wildfire to try to manage. But the thing here is, let me explain this to you guys. So far, we talked about this, 2023, and it's only almost the end of August. So we're 8 months in, okay? We still have, 3 months to go. There's already been 38,831 wildfires in the United States. This is in the United States. This does not include the ones that are going on in Turkey, the ones that are going on in Greece, the ones that have gone on in France, although those were purposely set near Black Rock. That might be a little bit different. The ones in Canada, which they want to say are wildfires, but when 5 of them start at the exact same time, miles and miles and miles apart, doesn't feel very wild, feels very planned. But this is just for the United States, okay? The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, good old FEMA, continues to work with state and local agencies in Hawaii because of the Lahaina wildfires. Again, we talked about it yesterday. Another little baby wildfire sparked on Saturday. 10 acres, they said, 10 acres. Yet they used the whatever their state, local alarm system is that they did not bother to use for, the fire that actually killed hundreds of people, if not more. They used it for this 10-acre fire. They evacuated the areas around it for this 10-acre wildfire, but for the one that took over an entire city, they did absolutely nothing, and I have issues with that. It says here, some national parks in Hawaii have been affected by wildfires. So the latest on closure status, recovery, travel plans, and all this other stuff. Oh, speaking of travel plans, the government of Hawaii, Maui especially, they are saying, hey, please continue to come to Maui right now. We want tourists. We want all of you to come here and hang out. But obviously not West Maui, where Lahaina is trying to figure out what's happening there, because there's still numerous people missing. We still don't know what's happening with the children. There's been no update on that. Just so we're all fully aware. They're not talking about the kids. Not at all are they talking about the kids. That's shady AF, if you ask me. But they're not talking about...
It's very shady, and they're also not letting anybody go into Lahaina. That's another shady thing about it all.
Don't you touch
No
any
one's
of that
able
stuff.
to be...
This is my house.
I don't know what the hell this is about. No one's allowed into Lahaina, which is very strange also. Because they got, Oprah was in there, the president was in there, everybody was in there. The way they got everything rocked off and fenced off all over the place, so even anybody can't even go to the Overlook. People who own the homes there are not being allowed in. Um, it's really weird. It's really not even weird. It was obviously just the way she's saying, but there could be something to that of why my videos are being shut down as well too. Might be to do with the parts that I'm playing of that. I don't know. We'll
Not
see.
even 2 weeks after the massive wildfire that broke out in Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii on August 8th, killed numerous people, displaced numerous people, basically leveled an entire city, if you will. Another wildfire broke out in the same area yesterday. It says area of Lahaina evacuated due to brush fire site near deadly blaze. Now, Maui County said the fire no longer posed an active threat. You guys can see here, they do have trucks out there that were throwing out water, basically. Says Maui County said the fire no longer posed an active threat, but firefighters were working in the area and evacuees should stay clear until it was safe to return. Now, it says here, a brush fire started and burned 10 acres on Saturday. Today is Sunday. Burned 10 acres on Saturday and prompted Maui authorities to evacuate residents from a neighborhood of Lahaina just a few miles from the site recently ravaged by blazes before firefighters brought it under control. Firefighters doused flames from above using a helicopter and with hose on the ground, said John Hagee, a spokesperson for Maui County's Joint Information Center. Maui County said in an Instagram post that the fire no longer posed an active threat, but firefighters were working in the area and evacuees should stay clear until it was safe to return. So you've got, look, y'all know I like to show you stuff. You've got the Maui County fire truck right there working on the blaze. Pardon me, sorry. It says the evacuation order covered a small number of homes in the hills. This thing's twisting, sorry. I'm trying to like ghetto rig this whole thing to hold up in this area because I have the AC going and I don't want it blowing on the microphone because it's 99 degrees outside of my Jeep right now, just so we're all fully aware. It is hot. Not as hot as the areas under fire, obviously, but it is hot. The evacuation order covered a small amount of homes in the hills above Kanapali Resort hotels. It wasn't immediately clear how many people were affected by the evacuation order. As firefighters worked to stop the fire, water trucks also sprayed dry brush and lawns. Lori Nilsson, who lives in Kahana, about 3 miles from Saturday's fire, drove down to see the effort. As a resident, I'm just a little concerned and want to make sure we're okay. Now, Lori, I would like to say, in theory, driving towards a fire is not a good idea. I would keep that in mind next time, drive in the opposite direction. She watched as fire crews work to put out a fire in what appeared to be someone's backyard. We're doing the right thing. We're being proactive to avoid what happened on August 8th again, she said. Now, here's what was interesting to me. That there was the fire yesterday and they evacuated from that area, but it's not like they can blame it on high winds. The winds were 3 to 8 miles per hour yesterday. They can't blame it on a hurricane because there's nothing passing by them, not at least not 500 miles away like Hurricane Dora was. There's no reason for it unless it was an accidental fire that was started in somebody's backyard. As they said, it looked like it started in the backyard somewhere. So the fact that it was contained to under 10 acres is a very good deal. Hawaiian Real Estate, I think his name is Eric West, if I remember correctly. He actually did a live stream during this yesterday. I saw it pop up earlier on my home screen on YouTube. I did not watch the video yet, but I know that he is doing a lot of hands-on, like boots on the ground work there in Lahaina and Maui itself. So if you guys want to see more at the scene stuff, because I'm not going to have at the scene material for you. I'm not going to show you videos that I find on TikTok and stuff like that because I can't prove that they are real. I'm going to hope that everything that Hawaii Real Estate is saying and doing and that Eric West is doing is from a real spot, you know, from wanting to help and stuff like that. So I would say if you want to see more of the as it's happening, where it is information, I would go check out his channel. I will be taking a look at it later today. There's some stuff I'm putting together for you tomorrow in reference to what's happening in Maui, and I do want to make sure that what I have come across and what I think is something you guys should know, I want to see if he has already mentioned it. If so, that would help me with really zoning in or honing in on what I am thinking at the moment. So I'm going to check his stuff out. But again, if you want to see like an actual factual video of the fire from yesterday, I would check his channel out because again, he did have that live stream. Now, what I want to mention to you guys is I found this article. Y'all know how I do with articles. I'm sweating in here. I love y'all. This is how you know I love you, because I have the AC down so the thing doesn't shake and it's not loud. Y'all, it's hot. I found this article, and I told you before that everything about this whole Lahaina fire does not make sense. Yes, I have seen the videos where the wind is crazy. Do I think that it is crazy enough to have started the fire? No, because the fire started before the wind got that crazy in Lahaina. From the videos that I have seen, from the actual factual information I have looked up when it came to the temperature, to the wind speed, to the location of the hurricane, to absolutely everything, from where they say the initial downed power line was that started this fire in Lahaina on August 8th, it doesn't all add up to me. Now, again, I have not watched all of Hawaii real estate. He may have a different information from being there, boots on the ground, that I don't have, because they were trying to keep the information from getting out. I mean, FEMA was told, or FEMA told, the government told FEMA and everybody else to not let videos out. So they did want to keep everything a little hush-hush. They didn't want drones going over the area. I will say, not having drones in certain areas, I can see how that makes sense. There's actually a massive fire that was in Washington just a few days ago, and there was this whole big to-do about the fact that people with drones, it interferes with, in theory, I'm not a pilot, I don't have any background in aviation or anything like that, but in theory, the bigger drones can interfere with the communication of the airplanes. So when you have these drones out trying to see what's happening and they have it flying over, it makes it difficult for the airplanes to get where they need to be. One, they could be worried about a drone flying into their propeller and basically crashing a plane. It is a thing. Birds do it all the time. Birds get into these engines and cause havoc and can, kill an engine, drop a plane, things like that. A drone could do the same thing. So when they say that they're having issues fighting some of these things, these wildfires, and getting into areas because of drones, I can see where it could be an issue. However, a week and a half after a blaze is done and they're trying to figure out exactly what happened, and then they say no drones, I personally have an issue with that. You're not a federal location. You are a city that has burned down. I don't see why you would want to keep anything out of the eyes of the people who want to know what has happened, who want to see the aftermath of stuff. If it's because you don't want them to see all the blue tents that are still up and the blue roofs and the blue vase and the blue t-shirt that didn't burn because you're worried about people putting blue and these other things together, hey, that's on you, boo. But I think the fact that they wanted to close down the ability of people to drone, that to me is a big deal. The fact they didn't want people uploading videos is a big deal. There has been a massive influx of videos in the last 24 to 48 hours of images of what happened in Lahaina. Now, I will also say, and I tell you this from the cynical part of my brain, which is a big part of my brain, I'm not gonna lie, but the cynical part of my brain says there are a lot of people out there who have mastered the ability to confuse you and convince you of things that are not real based off of how they can present things to you, whether it be with their words or whether it be visually. Anybody can take something. When we talked about East Palestine in February and March and April, I would show you, I would pull up these articles and I would show you, I would say, listen to the words they're saying, but look at what they're showing you. These pictures they are showing you have nothing to do with these words. This is from a completely different incident. This does not go with this whatsoever. That's why I pay attention to all the little details, because to me, those are the ones they expect people to overlook. And those are the ones that are going to catch people and send them in the wrong direction of how they should be thinking, or the facts of things or emotion of things, right? So all these videos that are coming out now, I worry that some of them may be tweaked. Some of them may be altered. CGI is a thing. If you've ever seen any movie in the last 10, 15, 20 years, CGI has done a lot of really good things, making you believe that the White House has exploded, or the aliens have invaded, or that, I Am Legend, that was the worst CGI movie I've ever seen in my life, so I don't know why I'm using that one. But there's other movies out there where the CGI and the things they can do with Photoshop make you believe it's real. That can happen on YouTube as well. That can happen in the news as well. So I need you all, just, again, because I'm cynical, because I don't want anybody being, taken for a ride that isn't real, I want you to just keep that in mind when you're watching certain things. Live streams, a little harder to fake. I'm going to put it out there like that. Live streams are a little harder to fake. So yesterday's video, the live stream with Hawaii Real Estate, I have not watched it. I've seen little bits and pieces of it as I was scrolling. You can't fake what was happening there. You have to be careful with what you're watching, trust your sources and things like that. Y'all should even question me. Shit, I know I'm not lying to y'all, but I'm also trying to give you everything that comes to me, the way I see it, the way I think about it. And I can be wrong on things sometimes. Keep that in mind. I am no better than anybody else out there. I can be wrong. If I find out I am, I'm going to tell you. So far, I don't believe I've been wrong on anything I have told you in regards to Lahaina or anything we've talked about on this channel. But that's not the point. The point is, I should have brought water because it's hot as balls in here and my throat is getting dry. So the other thing I wanted to mention to you, 19th century pineapple plantations turned Maui into a tinderbox. I've told you numerous times, time and time again, profit over people, profit over people. It's not a new thing. It's been going on since the dawn of money, not time, money. I mean, I'm sure there's other things, over people, but back then it wasn't profit. It was probably, vegetables over people and animals over people, whatever. But now it's profit over people. So you see all these lovely, glorious pineapples. I love pineapple just as much as anybody else, right? It says in the late 18th century, when Hawaiian Kingdom became a sovereign state, Lahaina carried such an abundance of water that early explorers reportedly anointed it Venice of the Pacific. A glut of natural wetlands nourished breadfruit trees, extensive taro terraces, and fish ponds that sustained wildlife and generations of native Hawaiian families. But more than a century, look, I gotta turn this AC up, y'all, it is hot. But more than a century and a half of plantation agriculture, driven by American and European colonists, have depleted Lahaina's streams and turned biodiverse food forests into tinderboxes. Today, Hawaii spends $3 billion a year importing up to 90% of its food. $3 billion a year to import 90% of its food. That is crazy to me. This altered ecology, experts say, gave rise to the August 8th blaze that decimated the historic West Maui town and killed more than 111 people. Now, I would like to put this out here. Right here, they say 111 people. Later on in the article, they say 115. A little farther on, they say 115. People are having trouble getting their numbers right on how many bodies have been found, how many confirmed dead there are. I will say before we get back into this that yesterday I went over how they released a list of 388 names, almost 400 names of people that they deem missing since the Lahaina wildfire, because they were able to get a first name, a last name, and a contact for whoever said they were missing. And they are saying that so far 100 people of those 388 have come forward and said, no, we're okay, we're fine. We're here, we're alive. I don't know if they're doing something to confirm the identity of the people that are like, no, it's totally me. I'm totally, John Smith over here. I'm totally Patty, whatever. Hopefully they're confirming and not just, yeah, okay, cool, we're going to knock your name off this list, because anything is possible. Anybody with a devious mind could call and go, yeah, I'm totally so-and-so, and then just keep calling back with names. Hopefully that's not the case, because that would be a really shitty thing to do. So hopefully 100 people out of those 388 are okay, and hopefully the other 288 of the names they have will be able to come forward, and hopefully out of the rest of the missing people, they will continue to find people. Now it says here, the rise of plantation capital spawned the drying of the west side of Maui. Side note, the west side is where Lahaina is. This is according to Kamana Beamer, a historian and former member of the Hawaii Commission on Water Resource Management, which is charged with protecting and regulating water sources. We're going to get to something real interesting here in a minute, and I just want to, when I give you that, I told you so, look, you're going to understand why, but I want to just prepare you for me to look at the camera and be like, okay, because it's coming. It says, you can see the link between extractive, unfettered capitalism at the expense of our natural resources and the ecosystem. Drawn to Hawaii's temperate climate and prodigious rainfall, sugar and pineapple white magnets began arriving on the islands in the early 1800s. For much of the next 2 centuries, Maui-based plantation owners like Alexander and Baldwin and Maui Land and Pineapple Company reaped enormous fortunes, uprooting native trees and extracting billions of gallons of water from streams to grow their thirsty crops. Annual sugarcane production averaged 1 million tons until the mid-1980s. Y'all, a pound of sugar requires 2,000 pounds of fresh water to produce. 1 pound of sugar, 2,000 pounds of fresh water. I don't see the trade-off being worth it there. Now, it says invasive plants that were introduced as livestock forage, like guinea grass, now cover a quarter of Hawaii's surface area. The extensive use of pesticides on Maui's pineapple fields poisoned nearby water wells. I'm pretty sure Monsanto is in that, the pesticides and stuff like that. The dawn of large-scale agriculture drastically changed land practices in Maui, where natural resources no longer served as a mode of food production or a habitat for birds, but a means of generating fast cash, said Lucien de Nye, an East Maui historian and chair of Sierra Club Group Maui, or Sierra Club Maui Group. Sorry, I get dyslexic sometimes. The land was turned from this fertile plain with these big, healthy trees, wetland taros, and dryland crops like banana and breadfruit to a massive monoculture, to rows and rows of sugarcane, which we talked about in the beginning. They said these sugarcane fields, these dried up, abandoned, dead sugarcane fields were super dry, and that helped spark the blaze and push it along faster and farther on that August 8th fire in Lahaina. Rows and rows of pineapple. The great... Oh, y'all, I hate it when I mess up names. I'm so sorry. The Great Mahali of 1848, a groundbreaking law that legitimized private land ownership, laid the ground for big developers to hoard water for profit, said Jonathan Lekiki Shore, a water policy consultant and co-author of the book Water and Power in West Maui. I think my camera's getting a little hot here. Hold on, y'all. Let me pause you for just a second. All right, I had to move y'all out of the sun because it is hot in here. I have leather seats, and let me just say, ladies, don't wear shorts and leather seats if it's 100 degrees out, because you can feel yourself slipping and sliding on your seat when your thighs sweat. Anyway, not the point here. Although the law did not privatize water, he said the creation of private property allowed agricultural corporations to wield political and ultimately oligarchic power, such a hard word, over elected officials. Now, we've already talked about the fact that the elected official there right now, John Petitier, however you say his name, was the same one who was over Las Vegas when there was that massive shooting at the concert a few years ago. And wielding power over somebody sounds like something that he would be part of or go along with. And anyway, let me get back to where I was. In 1893, a group of sugar magnates and capitalists overthrew the Hawaiian Kingdom's Queen Liliuokalani. Y'all, I hate when I do this. Like, I listen to the names and I forget how to say them. It's not because I don't want to. It's because it's not normal words that I say, so my brain just trips on them every single time. Hawaiian Kingdom's Queen Liliuokalani, paving the way for the U.S. to annex Hawaii 5 years later. Sanford Ballard Dole, a cousin of Dole Plantation's founder, served as the first governor of Hawaii. When the last of the sugar companies closed in 2016, what is that, 7 years ago, due to the rising labor costs and operating losses, Schuer said, the farms were purchased. Y'all, here's where I'm about to make that look for you. The farms were purchased by large investors for real estate speculation and left fallow, overrun with invasive grasses that became fuel for brush fires. Developers like West Maui Land Company, Inc. took control of the plantation's century-old irrigation ditches and diverted water to service its luxury subdivision. You know, the ones that did not go up into flames in Lahaina, whereas everything else did, because West Maui Land Company, Inc. controlled the water in Lahaina, but his subdivisions were fine, but Lahaina burned to the ground. Okay. In doing so, it left scraps for indigenous families who live downstream in Lahaina. In Hawaii, water is held in a public trust controlled by the government for the people, but on Maui, 16 of the 20 water users are resorts, timeshares, and short-term condominium rentals equipped with emerald golf courses and glittering pools, according to a 2020 report from the county's Board of Water Supply. The 40-acre Grand Wailea Resort, the island's largest water consumer, devoured 500,000 gallons of water daily, the amount needed to supply more than 1,400 single-family homes. So it's not that Maui doesn't have the water. It's not that Maui didn't have the resources. It's that it gave it to the people with the money as opposed to the people who actually needed it. It gave it to the corporations so they can have these sparkling pools and these glorious water fountains and whatever else, as opposed to the people who were trying to grow their own crops, keep their animals on their property fed, keep themselves able to take showers and cook and things like that, and put out wildfires and whatnot. Over the past 2 decades, Native Hawaiians have fought lengthy legal battles to reclaim their water rights and restore depleted streams for domestic and traditional practices like sustainable fishing and taro farming. Not so they can make profit off of the water, so that they can, open a resort and have a Olympic-sized pool so tourists with too much money falling out of their butt could come pay for it and whatever else. No, they want to be able to farm and fish. Literally the only things that sustain life. Anyway. In 2021, dozens of indigenous taro farmers won a landmark water rights case to restore stream flow to Nawaiiha, the four great waters of Maui that once formed the largest taro production region in Hawaii, y'all. The decision, which preserved the Nawaiiha water system for taro cultivation and other traditional practices, has allowed farmers to return to and grow taro on their ancestral lands. Hokua Pellegrino, a seventh-generation taro farmer in central Maui, said he's restored 8 taro patches on Nohoana Farm, which has been in his family's hands since 1848. Then last June, the State Water Commission voted unanimously to give special designation to the Lahaina Aquifer sector, which supplies water to West Maui residents so that the state regulators can assess and limit water use by resorts and developers. But that process has been thrown into disarray in the aftermath of the fire, which became a new flashpoint in Maui's water use dispute. After a state official allegedly delayed releasing stream water to a private reservoir for firefighting efforts, the governor, Josh Green, said the state had tipped too far toward water preservation. Following a request from West Maui Land, which operates the reservoir, Green temporarily suspended the designation and loosened stream flow regulations, terms that Native Hawaiians had fought hard to implement. Water rights activists say they fear West Maui Land and other water diverters now will attempt to exploit the tragedy and buy up more coveted land and water rights. It's another slap in the face to people in Lahaina who have lost everything, said Dene. Now, Pellegrino, who leads Hui o Nawahan, gosh, I'm so bad at this and I'm so incredibly sorry. Pellegrino, who leads Hui o Nawaiiha, a nonprofit that advocates for stream protection, said what's happening now is disaster capitalism at its finest. They're pitting farmers against farmers, Native Hawaiians against Native Hawaiians. To prevent more fires from engulfing communities, Pellegrino said it's not enough to merely return water to streams. Maui needs to resurrect the wetlands and ecosystems that, for centuries, provided not only sustenance but also a natural buffer against disasters. Lahaina's original name, Lahaina I Ka Malu Ulu Olele, translates to Lahaina lies in the shade of the breadfruit trees of Lele, a reference to the large breadfruit groves that once fed tens of thousands of people. To Pellegrino, the phrase holds the key to its island's survival. Water is just one piece of the pie. Stream restoration needs to be coupled with Native Hawaiians having access to those lands so they can rebuild the food forest that once was. Now, you heard me say in this article that what they have done, the developers did, is they bought all the land where the sugar cane was and the pineapple fields were, and instead of doing anything to ensure that it was safe and cleared and not a massive fire threat, they left it the way it was. Let me just ask you a question. When it comes down to money, when labor is so incredibly expensive, when renting equipment is ridiculously expensive, in case you guys didn't know, it is crazy expensive to rent equipment. What is the best way to ensure the clearing of an area that you want to use for a future build or whatever else? Fire. Fire is the easiest way to clear the land of the trees, generally speaking, and any buildings and anything else that may be on there, to make it easier for you to just come in and scoop out what is left so you can start to build what it is that you want. So those extra 10 acres that were on fire, they say is in somebody's backyard. Is it really, or is that another little swatch of land that maybe West Maui Land Co. owns or somebody else owns, and they realize that right now with fires, it's working well. Somebody could say, oh, there must have been a little ember that was left over from 2 weeks ago that started this fire. Anything is possible. I put nothing past the people in charge. I put nothing past the people who are trying to make a dollar. I put nothing past the people who value profit over life, because that's what it is in a lot of these places. They value profit over life. They can say whatever they want. West Maui Land Co., they say, oh, well, we sent a letter asking, or email asking if we could, have extra water diverted to Lahaina. You sent an email knowing good and damn well that most people aren't checking their emails when they're worried about hurricane winds or whatever else coming through. You sent an email. You could have picked up the phone and called. You could have walked or driven to the location and talked to them, but you sent an email knowing that that was going to be one of the slowest return on your time output, right? So you did it to cover your ass so that you could say that, hey, you tried to save them. You tried to save them. You tried to get them more water. Knowing good and damn well you didn't actually want them to, because that would have pulled from the reserves from your subdivisions and kept your subdivisions safe. Your subdivisions did just fine. The rest of Lahaina burned. I have an issue with that. Everybody should have an issue with that. That is that. Listen, I love you all immensely. It is very, very hot in here. We're going to end this video now. But when I say I told you so on the West Maui Land Co. and the water and the land that they own and how they are in control of the water of Lahaina. I have an issue with that. And I told you guys I had an issue with that before. And the more I read, the more I see their names popping up with real estate development and with subdivisions and with land that they own that happens to be just a sitting tinderbox. I'm going to continue to have issues with the whole entire thing. So I love you all immensely, Squirrel Tribe. Thank you for being here. I'm going to keep an eye on everything that's going on. Make sure you check out Hawaii Real Estate so you can see firsthand what happened yesterday with that. They're going to call it a wildfire and evacuation, but I don't really know what to call that. And I did read somewhere, and I could not find it anywhere to save my life, that they used the emergency system yesterday for that brush fire. If that's true, I have extra massive issue with that. You're going to use a emergency broadcast, whatever, for the 10 acres, but you didn't want to use it for the entire city when it was on fire or before it was on fire. Massive issue with that. So I'm going to keep looking. I cannot say for a fact that that is what happened. I did read it somewhere, and until I find it again, it's just a thing that's going to stay in the back of my head to look for. I'm not saying it happened. Maybe Hawaii Real Estate has something in his live stream talking about it. I'll check that out later to see. But I love you all.
Guys, Eric West here, HawaiiRealEstate.org, coming to you from the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii. It is August 29th, Tuesday, 9:50 p.m. It's been a long day. I started out on somewhat of a television show at 7 o'clock this morning, presenting what's going on Maui, and I just wanted to give you a quick update. Let's have our business meeting. Let's talk about some important things. But before we do that, I just want to share with you a little bit about who I am. The reason for that is I've come under a lot of attack for what I'm doing here. You wouldn't expect it, right? I never anticipated this. I didn't see this one coming. But I thought it would be important to clear the air on a few things that have happened on some of the videos. And obviously we've raised, over $600,000 at this point in time. And our goal is to raise $808,000. We're not going to stop until we get there. And then we might just do it again, especially when you hear my plan of what it is that we're going to do with the money. And we're going to document every single dollar. Administration costs will be very, very minimal. I have to pay for a tax attorney and a CPA to make sure everything can be perfectly audited. But what we are is a pass-through. Maui LFG is a pass-through to victims. And the way this is going to work is real simple. It's really simple. We've already been doing it. If you're a victim of this fire and you would like to receive support from the world and support from Maui LFG in the form of cash, because cash is king, and that's what I've learned from the people in Paradise and Malibu fires and campfires. Cash is king, and they end up with none of it when it's all said and done. The big corporations, Red Cross, all these companies, they get the money and then hightail it out of there and send them a bill. We're not going to do that. So if you want your money to go in the hands of victims, you can give to MauiLFG.com. We're going to take all the money we've raised so far and we're going to seed families with a big chunk of money. We're going to show a video of them, if they want us to, telling their story, which also serves the purpose of basically getting their eyewitness testimony for what happened here. Whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of things I could call right now, but I'm not trying to be inflammatory, but I've got my opinions now of what's happened here. And then we're going to seed them with this money. So you're going to see every penny going back into the hands of victims and survivors of this fire. And then we're going to put their GoFundMe and their Venmo accounts and their Cash App and their ways that you can then continue to support them. So my goal in this whole process is to make everybody whole, and I've got a plan for avoiding the land grab, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment. But the reason it's important to bring in members of the community with different skills is because I'm a real estate professional. I've been doing this. I've been licensed since '06. I practiced as a farm and ranch broker in Colorado and Wyoming and Kansas. I was licensed in those states. I came over here. I started my own business. And it took me years, and I struggled for years. I cleaned condos. I wiped pubic hair from toilets for years to pay my rent. So you're not looking at some trust fund kid. You're not looking at somebody that was ever given anything after college. When I graduated college, my parents said, here you go find a job, good luck, and we'll see you at Christmas and Easter. That's it. And so I raised 4 kids on this island. The oldest is 24, Dylan. He went to the University of Manoa, computer science. My second son is Ryan, 22 years old, also University of Hawaii, Manoa, finance. And then my third son, Colton, valedictorian, Lahaina Luna. Go Lunas, and good job, Colton, for that 4.2 GPA. Just finished his first year at CSU, Colorado State University. And I have my youngest, Hunter, who you've known from the channel, who is was going into a sophomore year until this nightmare unfolded. But we've been here for a while. We don't consider ourselves locals by any stretch of the imagination, and we realize that we can be looked upon negatively. We get that, and we're taking a big risk stepping out and letting my voice be heard. Stephen Covey, 8th Habit. Let your voice, find your voice and help others find theirs. I'm going to try to help you find your voice tonight, by the way, because I believe that's how we win this battle, by the way, is everyone has a voice and everyone needs to do what God calls them to do. But we're a family that's been here struggling. In the recent years, we've been doing pretty good. I was a #1 agent with Keller Williams last year. Year before that, I was also in the top 3% of the island, and part of that came from my outreach that I did during COVID. During COVID, my channel took off from obscurity. I've been doing videos since 2012, but it took off from obscurity into like people knowing who I was before this ever started, because I did what's called the Maui Food Line videos. You don't believe it, go back, they're all there still. But I highlighted the need for money to come into the Maui Food Bank. I didn't raise any money personally, I just said give to the Maui Food Bank. And that's what happened. And huge donations came in, not just because of me, but because of you, America, reaching out and helping the people of Maui. Well, now we have a catastrophic event, a world-changing event, possibly one of the biggest things. There's a lot of things I want to say right now, but I'm not. That's happened. And so I went right back in the Maui Food Line mode. I'm like, I've got a channel, I've got a Starlink, and they've blocked communications even up to this day. Cell phone calls are dropping. They've not allowed the media in here to show what's going on here. They blocked photography and videography by FEMA in the burn zone. So I'm just a guy that has an iPhone connected to a Starlink with a YouTube channel, and I just started reporting what's going on and showing you what we're seeing on the ground. Because you're not here. We're a long way from the mainland. We're a long way from Germany. We're a long way from Europe. And I just want to share with you what's going on here. I've got no bad intentions, and every dollar I'm going to raise is going to go right back into the hands of the victims and the survivors of the fire. I'm going to document every single dollar, every single penny. I've got a tax attorney and a CPA that's going to help me make sure everything is 100% auditable. And so those haters out there, those people are trying to spread disinformation about what my truest intentions are. I'm here to share with you my heart. And I'm here to tell you I know what it's like to live on this island, to have no money. I know what it's like not to have enough money to put your kids on an airplane and fly off of this island and start over. You got to have money to do that. You need deposit for your new place that you're going to rent. You need to have money for the airlines. You have to have 1 month of expenses at least until you find a new job. We have a bunch of people on this island that are in that position, and I am simply trying to give them the money because I've heard from other victims from the other fires that have happened and Florida hurricanes, and they said they didn't get any money. So I'm just trying to raise just a little bit of seed money and then put those stories in front of you. And I'd like to document every single person that's been affected by this fire. That's the goal. And that's where my heart is. And for you real estate professionals out there, this community needs you. So don't ostracize them, community. And real estate professionals, do whatever God's calling you to do. I know there's other agents that are handing out water and serving food. We're a member of the community, and we're not here trying to land grab. I'm going to teach you and show you how to avoid that. And I've got a great plan that I think will work. I'm not sure of all the plans of the enemy, so to speak, but I know one path that could cause a land grab. And so if you just listen to this video, take some notes, and listen to these suggestions, I believe we can beat this thing, and we can make sure that the enemy, whoever they are, will learn they picked on the wrong island, they picked on the wrong state, they picked on the wrong people, and ultimately they are awakening the giant, and the giant will come out in a warrior spirit that will fight for what's right, will fight for this land, will fight for this people, and I'm on the side of the good. And I'm sticking around. You're not going to scare me off with your haters and your comments and your edited videos that are spliced together to make me say things I didn't actually say. A few things I want to clear the air on. I made videos of Lahaina Town the second day after it burned. I was in there now knowing I've risked my life by going in these horrible chemicals, asbestos, and all these different things, but That's okay. What's done is done. I shot a drone video over the whole area so that you could have pictures of your home and you could share it with your insurance company. I drove my GoPro on my motorcycle so you could have images of that area for your insurance claims and also for a future litigation, because now you can't get in there. Now it's a war zone. Now it's like checkpoints and Checkpoint Charlie and guards and FBI and ATF and Army. I mean, they're here and we can't go in there, and they won't allow people to go in there. So as a real estate professional, I thought it was important to serve my community by getting this footage and then releasing it to the world. Lots of people offered me money for it. I didn't take it. You see footage of me walking through a home with my other son and some other guys that were down there. That was Nuku's home. Nuku gave me permission to go into his home. He was looking for a safe. These people have not been able to go back to their homes to get the contents of their safe. And I've heard rumors about who is rummaging through that. Again, I'm not here to spread rumors, but I'm just telling you. To not allow homeowners to go into and get their stuff is weird. To not allow press to go in there to get their stuff doesn't make sense. To not allow citizens like me to pull over on the side of the road and take pictures and videos from afar of what's going on. To have a flight restriction over an area. I can't fly my drone over there and watch the hillside for future strikes causing fires, or looking down and seeing what FEMA's doing. To block everybody out is against our constitutional rights. It shouldn't happen. It needs to stop. And I pray that it will stop, and I believe that it will stop with your help. So, giving the money straight to the victims, we're going to prove that. And opening up their bank accounts with a Venmo or with a GoFundMe so you can give to them directly, that's going to happen. It already has happened, and I'll continue to do that. And we can raise more money to do that if you want to give to MauiLFG.org. But the next step, in my opinion, is to prevent the buyback. And how do you prevent the buyback? You have to pay off all the mortgages. Because if you don't pay off the mortgages, these people will get choked out. They'll be unable to pay their mortgages and their taxes. They'll want to sell for pennies on the dollar, which is maybe the plan by whoever's doing this. So we can prevent that by raising, I believe, it's about $3.5 billion. $3 billion somewhere in there is my estimation of the mortgage load on Lahaina Town. Gary Rosenberg, my favorite lender on Oahu, we helped come up with this number. But ultimately, if we raise that amount of money, there's two ways we can do it, or both. We can do a grassroots movement, creating shirts for Lahaina Town, commemorative shirt. I've already contacted a couple artists that lost everything in the fire. We can make these shirts called Buy Back Lahaina.